Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. Happy Easter. Hope everybody is doing well. We got the latest Manchester United news. Major squad clear out being reported today for Manchester United coming up, obviously, in the summer. And it's, I think it's a good sort of talking point. It's not anything major detail, and I think most of it is a lot that we sort of generally expect, but I think it's a good place to have a nice, good discussion around. And, in my opinion, something that should be happening at the football club. I think it's pretty standard. I don't think this is anything to glaze Ineos over and say, oh my God, they're so amazing. But we are getting reports that Manchester United are planning a major squad overhaul, including the likes of Manuel Ugarte, Joshua Zirkzee, Andre Onana, Rasmus, Hojlund, and Marcus Rashford, all expected to be sold, with Casemiro, Jadon Sancho, and Tyrell Malacia also set to leave as free agents. So we also have other news in that, while a little bit that goes to that, we're going to get some money back in there. Reportedly could be up to about 100 million from all of that. At least 8 senior players leaving Manchester United, which would or should help us, reinvest in the squad going forward. We had Ryan Giggs speaking on Manchester United. I want to get into what he said because, whatever you think of Ryan Giggs, I know he's had a bit of a dodgy off-field stuff here and there, but he is a legend of the football club. And he was a phenomenal player. And he is one that is a bit more quiet, I would say, compared to the other ones. Or we hear less from him a lot more times. So he said some interesting stuff on United. Couple situations. I think he talked about a player or two. So we'll get into that. We also do have the news, by the way, that Patrick Dorgu has returned to individual training on grass. So that is good, positive news. And hopefully, we get to see him back before the season ends. I would assume if he's doing that much, he's not too far away. He did go over the time limit, supposedly. Well, not time limit, but the rate of where he was supposed to be out for. I think he's gotten a little bit over it. It's taken him a little bit longer than the initial period they said. But he is back on individual training, grass training by himself. And you know what comes after that? He'll be back in squad team training. And once he's back in team training, he'll be back in the squad. So maybe in about 2 matches or so, maybe we'll see him in about 2 weeks, maybe. We'll see him back as part of the bench, and maybe he'll get on the pitch and get some minutes. So that's some positive stuff as well. And then we got some other sort of just loose news, couple of things that we need to tidy up on. But it's going to be a good show. Strap in. Hope everybody is doing well, and hope everybody is good. Hope if you're celebrating Easter, hope you're having a good and happy Easter so far. Hope you celebrated it with some of your family and stuff like that. So make sure you're smashing the like button because it is important to the channel. Get that done, people. Massive, massive help, and a massive thank you for doing that for us. And also, if you're new and enjoy the content, whether you're watching now or you're watching after it's aired live, subscribe, hit the notification bell icon, get involved in the comments, okay? And, let's get rolling. Lucky is here. Says, Ugarte wants to be sold to Newcastle United. Get 24.2 million from him. I like the fees that you give me. They're very specific, Lucky. 24.2 million. Most people would just round it to 24 or 25, but Lucky likes to give us the specific exact number. But we will talk about Manuel Ugarte because, as I was saying in the intro to the show, okay? I know you want him gone. Many people want him gone. I'm sort of in that camp. I mean, I don't have any hate or despise towards him like some people in our fan base do. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying I've seen it in the fan base. Some people like literally hate him. Like they take time out of their day to spew hate about Manuel Ugarte on the internet. Whether, I don't know if it's because they think they'll get them clicks or they just generally really hate the guy. I don't hate him. I just don't think that he's good enough. There's nothing really to hate about the guy. He's just not the guy that we need. He hasn't done anything for me that, it's not like he's disrespected the club. He hasn't pulled the Jadon Sancho or anything like that. He's not like an arrogant player causing issues off the field and stuff like that, disgracing the club. He hasn't done any of that, so there's no grounds for me to hate the guy. He's just not good enough. And we do need to move him on. But as I was talking about, and this update came from Catherine Walsh, who I didn't know this, but I'm just seeing it now, okay? Football reporter for The Sun and Manchester United football reporter. So it is coming from The Sun. But regardless if it's coming from The Sun, okay, this sort of major squad overhaul that they deem every summer that we should be doing, really is normal transfer business. This should be happening. And, again, Ugarte, we've seen enough of him. He's fairly limited. We need more than that if we're going to do more than what we're doing and go on to be a better team and progress. So we got to move on from him. Joshua Zirkzee is another one. It hasn't seemed to gone particularly well. In my opinion, he doesn't really fit our team. He doesn't fit the dynamic of the squad. And, I don't know if the Premier League is maybe the best home for him either. Maybe he is better suited to Italian football. Okay, then we have the likes of Andre Onana, who 100%, 1,000%, 10,000%, 100,000%, 1,000,000% needs to be sold. He has no future at this football club. We've definitely seen enough of him. He definitely wasn't good enough at all throughout his time here. And that's one player that, whatever it takes, get him out and off the wage bill, because there is absolutely no reason for him to be continuing at Manchester United. He's done and dusted. Rasmus Hojlund, as we all know, will sign for Napoli. Okay? The media want to portray it as like it's this thing that's hanging in the balance. But with the deal that we've done with Napoli, okay, they finish in the Champions League. They have to pay the money. They're going to pay the money. They want to pay the money. They want Rasmus Hojlund. They like him. So that's a done deal. So, that one's already done. Okay? And Onana must go. Okay? He's one that has to go. That must be sold. That there is no option to keep him. And Marcus Rashford is another one that should be sold, needs to be sold. His time is done here. We've moved on. He's moved on. And a deal for a final permanent transfer needs to be done so we can actually fully 100% move on. Okay? Obviously, Ugarte and Zirkzee are a little bit different than these guys, because while we can say that they should go, there's no guarantee necessarily that they will go, because United, Ineos, can do things where they choose to keep these players because of squad depth, based on the fact that many people right now believe that we are probably going to be able to sign 4 players this summer. People are expecting 4 players. Maybe you could do a 5th, but with the fact that I have to say maybe you could do a 5th, there's a reason for that, and it's because everybody sort of has the feeling that 5 is probably a bit too much in terms of they don't trust Ineos, or our financials are messed up, or both, or, it's a World Cup summer, so the transfer window is going to be by default shorter to a certain extent for some players and to get business done, especially how it's all going to be compact. Preseason, the season's going to start. We're still going to be scrambling to probably doing a couple deals. And a lot of the transfers in general, not just for Manchester United, are probably going to go up very late into the window, and this transfer deadline day in this summer, we might actually see a lot more activity than, the one in the past, because they've been sort of a lot of the clubs have been trying to get business done very early and not do the whole deadline business day, and there's obviously a reason for that. But this one, they might be forced into it a little bit because the schedule is a bit tighter and it's a little bit shorter. So, and then obviously, they add in here like Casemiro and Jadon Sancho and Tyrell Malacia. I mean, these, like, I don't really consider, it's just standard. The Casemiro's leaving. We've made this decision. Sancho has absolutely no future. And Tyrell Malacia shouldn't even be at this football club at this moment in time, because we've tried to move him on a couple times and have failed to do so, and he's just sort of stayed here. But, they're all out of contract, and they're all gone. So, to a certain extent, yes, it is sort of a major squad overhaul or mass exodus, because you are talking about like 8 players there leaving the squad. But, I don't know. And we do have an update about Ugarte specifically. Okay, obviously Zirkzee still has like some interest, but there's been a little bit of back and forth with Zirkzee in terms of that he wants to stay, and he believes that he'll be given more opportunities next season. Okay, but we also then got a update following that update by Caught Offside saying that Manchester United have set a €40 million asking price for Manuel Ugarte, who is keen on a summer exit. Galatasaray, Newcastle, and Aston Villa are also monitoring his situation. Now, Newcastle could be a destination for him because they seem set to lose Tonali, and I would assume that, Bruno Guimaraes will probably leave their club the following season as well. So they may be in need for a midfielder and another midfielder after that. I think it's been made quite clear that only one of them will be allowed to leave this summer, and it seems like it's going to be Tonali and not Bruno Guimaraes. They're going to need a replacement there. Galatasaray has been a club that has been linked to Manuel Ugarte since basically January, or maybe a little bit slightly before, but for the January period, nothing ever materialized. We kept him, obviously, because we weren't going to do any transfer business in January, and we would have had the squad even thinner in the midfield department than it already is. So, even if Galatasaray really wanted him and he wanted to go there, we were never going to sanction it because we needed to keep him here as a body. As some depth. And then there's also Aston Villa, who seem to be a bit of, new names linked to Manuel Ugarte, okay? Brown Knight says, what I miss? Who are we talking about? Well, we're talking about a couple of the players being sort of sold, and getting kicked out of the club, or moved on, I guess I should say, not necessarily kicked out. But we're talking about Ugarte, we're talking about Zirkzee, we're talking about Rashford, we're talking about Rasmus, we're talking about Cass, we're talking about Malacia, and we're sort of just, talking about, well, media-wise, it's reported as this major squad overhaul, but really, in my genuine opinion, this is just standard business. I mean, it's not like, it is sort of major because, I mean, if you do all of that, that is about 8 players leaving the football club, which is a lot to leave in one sort of period, especially for Manchester United. If you go back in the past, we've struggled to get rid of players. We usually don't move on many players, and we can't really do it. So, in a sense, it is major, but it's not like it's, it's not like a master class, or it's not something like totally out of left field by Ineos or anything like that. It's pretty standard. Like, these things do need to happen. This is just fairly standard business that has to happen at the football club if we're going to actually be serious and make progress. Rasmus Hojlund done dusted suits Serie A clubs. Yeah, he's not coming. He's not doing anything. Volpe says, I still can't believe why Ugarte is struggling. Well, I would tell you he's struggling because I think there's a couple reasons why. I think one, we purchased him for Eric Ten Hag and that sort of system, and we're not playing that system. Two, I would say maybe it just wasn't the best buy in terms of he didn't necessarily, you know, fit maybe the Premier League, or maybe he just wasn't good enough to be at Manchester United and handle the pressure. Three, I would say that if you watch his game, he's fairly limited in his ability as well. For me, the way I view Manuel Ugarte is he is basically just a defensive sort of midfielder, and he ain't even really elite at it. Like, Cass at Ugarte's age is like 4 to 5 times the player that Ugarte is defensively. But Ugarte cannot link play going forward. Cass could do that way better. Lisandro Martinez is miles above him from the center-back position at doing it. So, and also, listen, if you're not playing well and you're not getting a lot of game time, you're probably going to continue to struggle because you're sort of constantly fighting an uphill battle as well. So I think there's numerous amounts of things there. They're not massively huge, but when you have a bunch of problems and you combine them into one, they do turn into sort of a big problem. So I do think that I'm not necessarily surprised. I had high hopes for him, but I think I've seen enough from him to know why he continues to struggle and why I think he should be moved on. If I was in charge, I would sell him. I said this multiple times already. If I was in charge of the football club, I'm looking to buy 3 midfielders. Ugarte needs to go, and we need 3 midfielders because we need 2 as it stands. And if you get rid of Ugarte, you need a third because we need 4. Manuel Ugarte wants to go to Newcastle. We'll get 24.2 million, maybe 28 million. Well, listen, I don't know. Maybe we will get something like that. I mean, listen, People are funny because they'll hear that update, okay? And they'll hear the update of United saying they want 40 million for Manuel Ugarte, 40 million euros, okay? And they'll freak out because they'll say United are stupid. Who's going to pay 40 million for Ugarte? He's crap. We should sell him for a packet of crisps. But actually, it would be very stupid to list Manuel Ugarte and say, yes, you can buy him for 20 million. Because if you list him for 20 million, you're not getting 20 million. You're going to get 10. Or 5. Or like 7.5 or something. So, when you go to do these things, you got to go sort of high. Okay? It's just a simple negotiation tactic. And actually, it's the smart negotiation tactic. Because no club is going to actually give us 40. The only stupid thing that United would do is if they're actually put their foot down and say 40 or nothing, and nobody offers us 40, they offer us 30, and they don't take it. Then it's stupid. Then it's a dumb thing to do, because then they're really off of it. But you do need to ask for the highest fee that's reasonable. Like, obviously, we're not going to list him for 60 because he's nowhere near worth 60. But, Lucky's saying like, 22 or 24 or 28, maybe 25. Well, to get there, you got to sort of list him for 40. Maybe you could get him for, 30. And Lucky's listing it in pounds as well. So there is a conversion. Am I talking to you? I was talking to you. Give Ugarte to Newcastle plus 50 million in exchange for Tonali. Well, maybe you could do that. But, I mean, usually, this isn't like Football Manager or FIFA Career Mode. The swapping of players doesn't really usually happen in that way. And Newcastle, they would certainly do the deals separate. So I don't think there's a chance you can really combine it like that. They will do both deals separately. They will sell Tonali for the price that they want to sell Tonali, and then they will try to negotiate for Ugarte if they want Ugarte, if they actually want to go and get him. They will negotiate it for separately, and the two deals will have nothing to do with each other. In essence, we would be swapping players, but it's just you don't see it in real life in football. You don't see players being involved in a swap like that. It could happen, but they're very, very rare, very rare, very rare, and they don't really work, like that. So if anything's gonna happen like that, we're gonna have to negotiate directly for Tonali, pay the price that Newcastle would like to agree to, which I think is anywhere from 80 to 100 million. And then if they want Ugarte, they can make their offer, and they're going to negotiate it separately. And it's not going to have anything to do with either or. They're just going to do it individually. How does a Copa player of the tournament go down in quality over 2 years? Well, I'll tell you this. I don't rate international football, so I don't really... I'm going to be honest. You could be Copa player of the tournament. I don't think it means jack shit when you come to play for Manchester United and you come to play in the Premier League. Some people rate international, and they see a player performing well in an international tournament, or maybe they're the top goal scorer of the World Cup or the Euro, or they're the player of whatever tournament it is, and they think that player is really good. But I don't think, in my opinion, it never translates. It never translates. They could do whatever they want internationally. I don't care. I don't pay attention to it, because I've seen it more often than not. You could do really well for international. You go to a club, you play club football, you play in the Champions League, you play against top tier teams, and you ain't that good, actually. Because I think international football is nowhere near the level of club football, especially in the top, 3 leagues. The clubs are a lot stronger. The competitions are a lot stronger. Champions League is miles far ahead of international football. And we're not even in the Champions League, but I would say even the Premier League is miles ahead. It's way tougher, way more competitive. So I don't really think, I wouldn't even jock it down to him being Copa Player of the Year and he went down in quality. I just think that you could be Copa Player of the Year. He's probably the same quality, but when you put that quality in a better, highly more competitive league or situation to play football, well, then it looks like he's become mid when maybe he just was mid the whole time. Renoso's here. What's up? You give us Manuel Ugarte at Newcastle, say we can drop Tonali 94 million mark lower. Yeah, but they don't, it doesn't happen like that, does it, Lucky? It doesn't happen like that. They won't, I'm telling you now, they won't do that. They won't do that. They will say, we got Tonali. We don't even know if we're 100% going to go for Ugarte. All right? They're going to say, we're going to sell Ugarte and we're going to sell Tonali and we're going to view our options and see what we're going to do. So they're going to do the Tonali deal separate. And then if they so choose to do so, they will go for Ugarte separate. And both deals will have nothing to do with anything. And you will have to pay the price for the player. I think clubs prefer it that way. It's cleaner. It's better for them. It's more simpler. Even from the player's side. If he's dead set on going to Newcastle and he doesn't want to go anywhere else, maybe it makes it a little bit easier, but then you also need Newcastle to be like, we only want Ugarte. And even if that happens, I still think they do it separately. They do it separately for the books as well. So, Simon's here, says, greeting to you, happy Easter to you. Who is on the list to be sold? Well, I'll give you guys a refresher. And happy Easter to you guys as well. Culture Spot 75 in here says, good evening. Happy Easter. Thanks for the sub. Happy Easter. Ray's here, says happy blessed Easter to all the Reds. Yes, happy Easter. And Renoso says happy Easter as well. If I have a sale priority list in terms of a realistic expectation, it goes Ugarte, Zirkzee, Delo, honorable mention, Shaw, and Mount. Well, I mean, it's a fair play list. Okay? But unfortunately, this is why I don't really mention them. Alright? Like, I don't mention Delo, and I don't mention Shaw, and I don't mention Mount, because I just, they're not going to happen. I don't think they're going to happen. If they were to happen, then, you know, I'd be encouraged by it. Because to me, Bruno, so that sort of thing, okay, coming from the media, all right, and this update specifically, and I'll just repeat it for those who just joined us, so you're with us on speed. But we did get this update saying that United are planning a major squad overhaul, okay, with Ugarte, Zirkzee, Onana, Rasmus, Hojlund, Marcus Rashford, all expected to be sold. Casemiro, Sancho, and Malacia are set to leave as free agents. Now, when you take all those players, okay, that's 8 players leaving the football club. And when you think about how many people we're going to be able to get in, all right, many people right now feel like the maximum we'll probably do is 4. 5 might be a push. We did 4 last summer. I don't think they could do any less than 4. They could do 3, but I think 3 will be very, very light and definitely not nowhere near enough. And I don't think anybody's going to rate that. And I think they'll probably look to do 4, and we could probably only do 4. Major, sort of major ones, you know. There might be another 1 or 2 that are, you know, some youth player that's like set 18, that's like not, you know, not ready for the first team or something like that. We've done deals like that, but I'm talking about guys that are going to be, you know, involved heavily in the campaign next season. And when you look at that list, you got 8 players leaving. Okay, 3 are free agents. All right, Rashford is expected to leave and should leave, and Rasmus is pretty much done. Onana is a bit of an issue because, you know, what kind of interest does he actually really have in him? He hasn't been great. I don't really know how it's going in Turkey, but I don't think it's going like, you know, I don't think he's done like a rejuvenation of himself there. And then you have the 2 question marks over Ugarte and Zirkzee, because, listen, if Ugarte wants to leave, he probably makes it easier for us for that to happen. Because if the player is asking to leave, I don't think United would be in the business to try and keep somebody that they don't necessarily maybe want, but would maybe keep for a body. But if the player is asking for a move, then he'll move. Zirkzee is a little bit, I mean, we got to kind of see what's going on with Zirkzee, because he doesn't seem like there's really maybe a future for him, but there are conflicting reports of him wanting to go and wanting to stay. So, you know, we have gotten numerous reports saying that he's going to look to move. And then just last week, we got an update saying that he believes that he'll get more opportunities next season and he would like to stay. And then really it comes down to United, because if United actually have some balls and just say, well, you know, we think we could do better and replace you with somebody that would give us more and be better for us. We don't care if you want to stay. We're going to sell you. And when we do that, the player will ultimately be like, well, I'm not going to stay somewhere I'm not wanted. So, and that's why I don't think like the likes of Delo and Shaw and Mount, and specifically Shaw and Mount because of their injury records, okay? I don't think you're going to be able to move Shaw and Mount out. Delo, I don't think Delo is going to go anywhere, because I think they actually like Delo. They like Delo. They like Delo. They like his character. They like his attitude. They like him as a person, as a player. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily an excuse to keep a player, but if you're looking at possible outs and then possible ins, at some point you have to sort of they're going to have to they're gonna have to make a sacrifice somewhere and say, well, could we get a better right back? Yeah, but we can't really do that now, can we? So we can't really get rid of Delo, can we? Because we're not going to be able to get in a right back because we have to go and get midfielders. We're looking to get in, maybe a winger or something, and then another position, and that's all we could really do. So at some point they're very limited in what they're going to be able to do because they're not going to be able to get rid of all these players. If you get rid of Mason Mount, you're going to need somebody else somewhere in that, attacking position. You could move Kobe Mainoo up there, but then we're going to need another midfielder to fill the role. You get rid of Zirkzee, I think we can manage without Zirkzee if you get some sort of another attacker, like if you do get a winger, because we do have Cunha, and he can play in the striker position if need be. We've played in Buemo there before, and we have Sesko, so we can sort of rotate that front three around. We do like a rotating front three as well, sometimes in matches, where they just swap in-game from time to time. I would sell Ugarte to a club that's going down. Well, the problem with that is, would they be able to afford him? I mean, the thing with Ugarte is that Manchester United have set a €40 million price tag. And I said they kind of have to do that because to get 25 million or maybe 30 million, you got to set it at 40. Because if you set it at 30, you're not getting 30. You're probably going to get 20. And if you set it at 25, you ain't getting 25. You're probably going to get 18, 15. So, and Ugarte would have to want to join there as well. So, Sadiq says our club will not be paying over 90 million for Tonali under Galinios, although I would take a player of his quality and add Ederson Baleba to improve our midfield. Well, maybe they won't do such a thing, but we kind of have to wait and see. Maybe they do surprise us on at least one transfer. We do have money coming in. I would add to that list that we were talking about, by the way, there is the possibility that we get even extra money from Mason Greenwood. I know a lot of us sometimes forget, but we do have a 50% sell-on clause for Mason Greenwood, and he has attracted a lot of interest because he's done quite well at Marseille. And there's some bigger clubs out there than Marseille that may be interested in buying him. So if they do that, we will get 50% of whatever they sell him for. So if they sell him for 60, we're getting an extra 30. And I'm pretty sure because he's an academy product, that's pure profit. So that 30 will go in the books as about 60 because I usually double it. Can you add Binder to the list? Well, Binder should be on the list as well. And Malacia and Rashi are there. Malacia is leaving. Not Malacia, sorry. But yes, Malacia. Sorry. Malacia is leaving. He's a free agent, and he's gone. Okay? Him, Casemiro, and Jadon Sancho, all free agents, so we don't got to worry about them. They're just, the door is closing behind them, and we have nothing to do with them. But Binder, you're right. Binder should be on that list, and I keep forgetting about Binder because he literally just... I forget he exists. Like, he doesn't play, I forget he's there. But Binder is another one, actually, yes. Binder should be sold, 100%. He's not useful. We don't need him. There's no reason to keep him there. And in fact, we should be getting a number 2 goalkeeper that we can use. That is helpful. Because every club that's a top club that's going far and competing at the highest level, they have a second usable goalkeeper. We do not have a second usable goalkeeper. Binder is not usable. We have, we've done well with Lemons, but we need to get somebody else. Now, many people will say Vitek. I'm all for it. At this point, they rate him very highly, and I think now is the perfect time. Bring him in as a number 2, and you could play him in Carabao Cup or something like that. I think Lemons has secured his place as first place. I don't think there's any reason why Vitek should just come in and Lemons should go to the bench. Lemons has been doing his thing this season, and he's taken that spot. People might feel like that's a bit unfair to Vitek because they've really liked Vitek and they've been pushing for him for years. But this is life, and this is how it goes. Vitek's on loan. Lemons is here. Lemons is the number 1 goalkeeper. Vitek should be number 2. We don't have to spend on a goalkeeper. Okay, we have one that you can make a number 2. So he should be moved on as well. You are absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. Let's not get players from Chelsea and or Spurs. Yeah, I would say specifically Chelsea as well, because they don't make it easy. Zirkzee said he wants to stay and fight for his place. Well, that is what he was reported, but I would say if Manchester United are going to do a proper job, I would put my foot down on that, because I don't really think he gives us enough. And I think we could do better. And if we're going to do better, we need to get better. So, when you don't have playtime, you lose touch. You do. I did say that. It is much more difficult for you to play, or put in better performances, but I'm not convinced by his game. For me, a midfielder, with the way we play in a 2, if we played a 3, I think maybe it could be okay. But we don't play with the 3. We play with the 2. And to be in a 2, he can't pass the ball forward. You can't be a midfielder and not make progressive forward passes. You can't be a central midfielder or playing central midfield and not be able to pass the ball over 20 yards to your teammate. And he can't do it. So we don't see him do it. He can only make short passes. He's afraid of the ball. He's afraid of the responsibility of the ball. We saw it last time when he played. So, maybe his other aspects of his games, maybe he would be a stronger defender. Maybe, defensively he would be a better, he would get the ball back better, and be stronger in that way. But he's not versatile enough. He's not versatile enough for what we need in that midfield. He can't get the job done for what we need. So I don't think he should be staying here. There are players out there that can do a defensive job and can also go forward. So we should be replacing him. Cole Palmer's class today. I saw touches. They also played, who would they play? Port Vale. So I hope Cole Palmer was class yesterday against Port Vale, because if he can't be class against Port Vale, then if we remain in both cups, then it would be good for Zirkzee if he does stay and allow us for the growth heaven in Euro. Well, that is one aspect, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know exactly how far Manchester United are going to go with this, because again, under Ruben, we kept players that, listen, we knew we weren't going to play a lot of games, but we kept players here for depth. And I would assume that was, maybe it was pushed a lot more by Ruben than it was by Wilcox, but Wilcox agreed to it and went along with it, and ultimately thought it was some type of a good idea. And they might do something similar to that again, because at some point you have to look at the squad and say, well, we can't really get in any more players. And so by default, we can't really let go of any more players because we need a certain amount of players for next season. So, maybe we get somewhere in the middle of the road where Ugarte is sold and Zirkzee stays. Or Ugarte stays and Zirkzee is sold. It could be split that way. I just wonder also if we should loan out Cheeto for another season too. You could. It depends how much he's progressed, and ultimately that's their call. They're the ones that are watching over him. and watching his progress, they said he's made a good amount of progress in the under 18s, and that, you know, they were applauding him for sort of taking it upon himself to take the step back and continue his progression in the under 18s and like sort of away from the, you know, major spotlight, and that he's done well. So, you know, I don't know how well he's progressed in terms of like, you know, when we put him back into the first team, if he plays, how is he going to look against, you know, the top competition, and ultimately if he's actually ready to, you know, to take the next steps after that. But there's nothing wrong if we loan him out to get more game time, especially, you know, if it's in the championship team, he's playing loads of games, he's going to be like sort of a starter or something like that, or he's going to play a lot. I think that's quite valuable and useful. And we've seen a couple players that we've done that with, and sometimes it goes well. Okay. You know, we did it with Delo and we did it with Diallo. It was going decently well for Harry Amos till he got injured. So maybe that should be something that we should be looking to do. The city of Manchester is probably calling most for a new stadium, and in that way, life goes on with a new economic plan for the 2030s. Natasha's here. Hi, Natasha. How are you? I'm good. Renault says, short visit today. I have to do some maintenance on my car. All right. Well, thank you for stopping by, buddy, and good luck with the maintenance. Cars are a pain in the ass sometimes, so hopefully it's straightforward. And we'll see you on the next one, buddy. Happy Easter, and be good. Did you have a nice Easter? Yeah, I mean, it's still kind of ongoing. You know, it's only 4 p.m. here, so you are on early tonight, aren't you? A little bit early. We started a little bit earlier, because we're probably not going to do such a long stream today. But yeah. Did you watch the FA Cup? I did. And oh yeah, now you reminded me, Natasha. I forgot which one of you it was. Maybe you're in the chat, maybe you're not. Maybe it was Simon, or maybe it wasn't. I can't remember. I apologize. But somebody was saying they were back in Southampton to beat Arsenal. And I kind of, you know, I wasn't buying it because I was like, I don't see how Southampton do it. And they were right. They were right. And Southampton, 2-1 win. Big things. Big things. You know, I had a good laugh. I bantered my Arsenal friends. You know, they quickly dismissed the FA Cup and said, you know, it doesn't matter. Just focus on the league and the Champions League. And I'm like, yeah, I know. You guys desperately wanted the FA Cup, and now you don't care because you lost to Southampton. I know how it goes. It's all right. It's fine. You know, you can pretend all you want. We could taste the tears behind the fake smile. And yeah. And then, you know, next one coming up for them is the Champions League. So, you know, the next knockout is the Champions League. They're not winning it. And they're going to get kicked out. They're going to lose. They're going to get kicked out. And that's going to be the next one. And ultimately, they'll probably just end up with the Prem, which they'll be fine with to a certain extent. But, you know, they were, a lot of them were just talking about a treble 2 weeks ago. And that's quickly dissipated. You know, so good stuff. And I did see City absolutely destroy Liverpool as well. So Simon says, what a great weekend for football. Arsenal out of 2 cup contests in a week. The cracks are showing and Liverpool are falling apart. Yep. Hopefully they don't fall apart too much, though, because I would like for them to keep Arne Slot. Because I do have a bit of a fear that they could fire Arne Slot. Maybe they go and get Julian Nagelsmann, and I don't want Julian Nagelsmann to go to Liverpool because I like Julian Nagelsmann, and I like Julian Nagelsmann to come to Manchester United at one point. And I don't think if you go to Liverpool as a manager, I don't think you're ever coming to Manchester United as a manager afterwards. So I like Enzo if he's available. Enzo Fernandez from Chelsea. Nah, I don't want him. Garnacho got a late pen for Chelsea. Well, good for him. City plays Southampton and Chelsea have leads in the cup. They do. And I don't think so. Now I definitely don't think Southampton will get the job done. But Chelsea versus Leeds will be a good one. Zirkzee will play next season. Well, maybe he does. Despite De Ligt and Martinez still being injured, can we really hang on to them? Well, that is the ultimate question. And it's a tough one because De Ligt is a good player, and so is Martinez, and you would like to keep on to them, but you can't keep on to them if they're actually injury prone. I think De Ligt is a bigger concern right now than Martinez, because De Ligt has had several different types of injuries over his career at his age, and this one has gone really, really bad for him. And we don't know exactly what's happened. We know it was a back injury, and he can't get over it, but we don't understand really what's the setbacks and what's actually happened to him. And why it's gone on to be about 4 months out when it was supposed to be 2 weeks out. You know, that's a really, really bad look. Martinez has had two bad, you know, the first one was he had a bad injury, but they botched the surgery. So that messed shit up. And the second one, you know, it was a really bad tackle. Like, if he did that to somebody else, most likely they're getting injured. It's unfortunate it happened to him. He got this small injury. So, you know, I don't think it's that massive a concern, but we do have to take a look at Martinez for next season, because if he does get some sort of a big massive injury next season and he's gone again, well then you really have to sit there and contemplate and say, well, we love the Butcher, we know how good he is, but, like, you know, this is sort of the third really bad injury now, and, you know, what's going to happen to him going forward. Natasha says Arsenal are starting to bottle it. Yeah. They will get beat in the Champions League, but they will lose the Prem as well, as City have hit their stride. Well, I don't know if they'll lose the Prem. I mean, I think many people feel that way because they've bottled it a lot. But I find it a bit hard for you to do such a thing at this period in the season with 7 matches left. Being in the lead for so long, and you're going to bottle the Prem from here out, you know, with the point lead you have over City as well, even though they have hit their stride. So, to a certain degree. But City have been a little bit weird as well this season, which is why they are where they are. So, but I don't believe Arsenal will win the Champions League. Okay, they've had a bit of a listen. They did very well in the table part of the Champions League, but you know, this is knockout time, and so far the first 2 opponents, Leverkusen, you know, put up actually a decently good fight in the first match. Actually, they should have won it because Arsenal shouldn't have gotten a penalty. So, you know, for me, they didn't do enough in that game to get the draw, and then they gave themselves, you know, a favorable return. So they got lucky on that one. And I think Sporting, people massively underestimating Sporting. And I think Sporting, for one, every time they've played Arsenal in recent years, they give them a game. Sporting is a tough team. And they will definitely 100% give Arsenal a game. And I think that they can, especially at home, Sporting can get something done. I actually think Sporting can get a win versus them and then take the away leg back. And then it really comes down to what Sporting can do away, because sometimes they do falter a little bit. They do play a little bit like crap away from home. And if you play too much like crap away from home, you will get killed. So, Simon says, I'm looking forward to winding up our greengrocer on Tuesday, as he is an Arsenal fan. Greengrocer. And made a bet that they would beat Southampton. Hope he loves humble pie. Well, that would be good. Is DeLitt trying to outdo Sean the injury stakes? He's just having a really bad time, you know. Lucky says Declan Rice, Eze Zubamendi needs be back. Miss yesterday. I don't care what they need. They need to lose is what they need. I don't care. You know, there's no sympathy. I don't care if they're missing half a squad. You know, play a small violin to somebody that cares. I don't. They don't have any sympathy for us. They don't care that we have the shittiest, worst owners in the world. They don't care. They don't care when we had 12 injuries in one season and we were struggling. They don't give a shit. Nice bit of weather in the UK. That's the weather like where you are. Well, not today over here. Today, I feel like I'm in the UK. Today, I feel like I'm in Manchester. It's quite dark. Well, it's gray. It's gloomy. It's like a little bit rainy. It's been raining here. You know, over here, April, you know, we say April showers because that's when it rains a lot this month. We get a lot of rain around this time. Sometimes it goes into May. So, yeah. But it's supposed to rain a bit over the past few days and probably into next week. It's mostly rain. So at some point the sun will come back out. Makes it hard to wake up sometimes though. I wake up and there's no light and it just feels dark and you don't feel like moving. You know? Haaland back with the goals. Arsenal have quite a few injury worries. Yeah, but you know, like I know when Arsenal go to the Etihad, they will get beat by City. Well, that one will be a big one, right? And that will be an important one. So I get what you're saying about that, but they need more than just that to happen as well, right? So we'll see how it goes. Arsenal will be tired because it's only a couple of days since their FA Cup match. Well, I think forget tired. I think the fact that they've lost, you know, the Carabao final, okay, that's quite deflating and defeating for morale. And then getting kicked out of the FA Cup against Southampton, I think is also quite defeating and demoralizing as well. So I think that, you know, they just suffered back-to-back of those in the span of like, you know, 2 weeks. That could massively derail you. So, but we'll see what happens because listen, the way they've been playing, okay, they've been defending like crazy, and they haven't been playing like exceptional football, but they've been getting results, and sneaking points. So it could be enough to get the job done. Sometimes it's not, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I have an agenda. An agenda about what? Bayern will win the Champions League and Spain will win the World Cup. I don't know if Bayern will win the Champions League. I think PSG are favorites to win the Champions League again. I think they have the best squad. Enrique is the best manager. And I think PSG probably has the best chance to win it again. Bayern are a good team, very good team, and they're playing very good. And I expect them to go far, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get into the final. So, well, I don't know how the legs are going, so. Arsenal will be so unbearable until August if they win the league. Until August? I mean, they're going to be unbearable for the next 20 years. They're going to talk till August. They're gonna take this Premier League trophy and run it into the sun for the next 15 years. It's just nice sometimes to have a lay-in, yeah, but, you know, gotta get stuff done. City over Arsenal. What do you mean? Next season, Arsenal will have a new manager and different rules regarding what formation they play. Well, I don't know if they'll have a new manager. If they win, they won't have a new manager. If they lose, I think they definitely have to. Here in Toronto, it's snowing a little. My buddy's up in Toronto. Barrie, to be, or he's from Barrie. I don't think he's in Barrie anymore. He moved outside a little bit of Barrie. But yeah, Toronto. I got another friend that lives in Toronto as well, actually. And yeah, lots of snow. Lots of snow. You guys still getting snow? Like, it's crazy. Canada is crazy. It snows way too much there. Manchester United fan wants City to win again. Madness. Well, it's very split, Lucky. It depends, man. Like, I got a Manchester United fan that they hate Arsenal more than they hate any other club. They hate Arsenal more than they hate Liverpool. They cannot stand Arsenal. I'm not like that, but you do. There's Manchester United fans. They all have different sort of perspectives. Some of them don't mind if City winning because they don't give two shits about City. And they hate Arsenal more, you know? Some people, they hate Liverpool over everything and everybody. Some people hate Leeds the most out of all the teams that are our rivals. Some people, it's Chelsea, you know? So, but, yeah, I mean, in terms of, like, how stuff is going, City's won a lot. City, I don't respect them in any way, like, because of what they are, and they don't have fans, like real fans. But the problem is I don't like the direction of City. And what I mean by direction is, like, they are literally and have been trying to essentially replicate us and replace us. They literally want to, like, be us, and they've been doing so. Like, they tried to make their own Trinity statue. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, they're literally trying to copy us T for T, and be like, yeah, actually, we're the greatest Manchester club. The other guys are just copycats, imitations, fakers. When really they're the ones that are, you know, they're the plastic ones. They're not the real ones. So I don't really want them winning any more trophies because they won quite a lot. Well, I don't want them winning any more Prems because they won quite a lot and they won the Champions League. So we don't want them doing that either. But I do understand people that don't want Arsenal to win it because their fans, majority of them, are delusional and psychotic and quite annoying. So they're not humble in any sort of way. In any sort of way. So you don't want to have to deal with those people because they're fucking annoying to deal with. And I shouldn't curse because it's Easter. And I said I wasn't going to do it, and I did it. We have had a storm in England, Storm Dave. Oh boy. I hope it's not that bad of a storm. Manchester will always be red regardless, yes. But, you know, I just don't like that an effort from another team that they're literally trying to, like, they're literally trying to replace us. Like, I don't know, you ever seen, like, one of these films or TV shows where it's like, you know, this weirdo person and they start dressing like that other person and they start, like, you know, acting like them and they essentially they want to, like, live the life that they live and, like, replace that person. Like, you know, I'm sure there's, like, I can't think of a specific thing, but I'm sure I've seen, like a TV show where, like, you know, there's some female character and she wants to, like, she wants to be like, she wants, like, the life this other lady has, so she tries to, like, literally replace her and, like, insert herself into, like, this lady's life and take over her life and stuff. That's what I feel like they're trying to do, you know what I mean? And that to me is, like, you know, because I could deal, like, Arsenal's their own club. They're not going to try and be us, and Liverpool's not going to try and be us, and, you know, Chelsea's not going to try and be us. They're going to do their own thing, their own way. But City are literally have been trying to be like, yeah, you're, like, they're trying to swap roles. They're trying to be like, you're the new City, we're the new United. And it's like, no, You can't do that no matter what you do. The problem is City have a good manager and money is not a, I think you meant not a problem. They will pay the money to get top players. Well, that is one of the problems, yes. I don't think they have their version of Fergie though. They have a very successful manager, but I wouldn't say that he's their version of Fergie because what Fergie did, Pep ain't doing it. I'm surprised that the Etihad won't have a statue of Pep. They might do it later on. This channel's jokes has everyone to themselves. Huh? I don't know what you're saying, bro. 24 years is such a long time between league titles and the gap could widen. Arsenal had a few managers post Wenger and none can get the league title. Yeah. But let's talk a little bit about some of these other updates real quick, okay? Because we're turning into like a City Arsenal show, and this is a United show. So let's talk about some other stuff United wise, okay? I mean, I guess we could talk about this, but real quick, we'll just mention it. But apparently, this come from Graham Bailey today. And intermediaries have contacted Arsenal, Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, and Chelsea regarding the potential availability of Vinicius Jr. this summer. Real Madrid insist Vinny Jr. will be sold if he does not sign a new deal this summer. And unfortunately, we won't get Vinny Jr. If Vinny Jr. is going to go anywhere, I would say it would probably be Manchester City. So, I mean, he could maybe go to Chelsea because I think Chelsea would have no problem splashing the cash. I don't feel like Liverpool, I mean, they might want to do it, but maybe they won't do it. But obviously, as Natasha just mentioned, City do have Pep. And they also do have, you know, money is not a problem for them. And they could give Vinny whatever wage he wants, and they could pay whatever fee he wants. So to me, you know, I mean, Arsenal could do it too, to a certain degree, because if you wanted to go to Arsenal, they could do it if they want to spend basically all of their budget on him, to a certain degree. But yeah, I mean, our name is in there, but there's no way we'd be able to afford that because they're not going to pay him the wage that he's going to be able to get, and his wage is a lot different than everybody else's wage because his wage is going to be absolutely astronomical. It's going to be, you know, you're talking about 350, 400,000 easy a week for sure. So Dorgu will only get 10-minute cameos when he returns. That's what he needs. How much is Vinny worth? It's a good question. I don't really know what they would sell him for. You know, if we just look at, like, I guess, transfer market for just a quick insight, even though it's not like 100% accurate, okay? Right now, transfer market has him listed at 150 million euros. So, when does his contract run till? Because that's also important. Contract expires in June 30th, 2027. So if he doesn't sign a new contract this summer, he has 1 year left on his contract. So yeah, probably 100 and 150 million is what they'll end up selling him for with 1 year left. Because if it was more, they'd sell him for a lot more. But yeah. He could go to Liverpool or play Salah. Well, he could. He could. I just don't know if they're... I don't know if Liverpool would necessarily maybe do such a thing because, again, you're gonna pay 150 million, but you're also gonna end up paying a shit ton in wages. So they could do it if they want to, but I kind of feel like maybe they'll just be like, we'll go do something. We'll go do another deal somewhere else. Hesty says he's asking for Mbappe salary 500 a week or something, so there's no way. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the only club that's going to give him that is probably, City would do it if they want to. And maybe Chelsea because they just spend ridiculous amount of money. And Arsenal could possibly do it if they win the Premier League. They'll get the money and they have a lot of good finances. They could do it if they so choose to maybe do it, but I kind of feel like at that point they might shy away from it as well because of the wages. So when it comes down to wages, I only see really two teams that don't really give a shit and would pay it without even thinking about it, and that would be City and Chelsea. I think the rest of the clubs would be like, we really want him, and he's a really good player, but 500,000 a week, even 400,000 a week is like, we'll just go in another direction and get a different player. He is 25, so Liverpool finish, nobody going, even if Javi Alonso comes. I don't think that's true. If we bought Vinny, then we'd have to sell Bruno for 100 mil, hypothetically. Yeah, but I don't think we would do it anyway because Ineos aren't going to do anything that we have to pay for a player that's on 400,000, even if he's Vinicius, even if it's Mbappe, they won't do such a thing. And our name is thrown everywhere by agents as well, Hester, you're right. So, Vinny alongside Haaland at City, quite a pairing. Well, it has been reported that Haaland wants to go to Barca at some point, so that probably won't last very long. I don't think Haaland's going to go anywhere. Like, he'll be at City next season, but I think maybe the season after, he'll probably go. Especially if Pep leaves. I think once Pep leaves, I think Haaland will go as well. Haaland's just sticking around because Pep's there. Haaland's plan was always, you remember Mino Raiola, who was Pogba's agent, who was also Haaland's agent, and obviously he passed away. So, I think his son took it over. But Mino Raiola and their agency's plan for Haaland was he goes to City, he does some years there, then we're going to try and take him to Barcelona or to Real Madrid, whoever it may be. But Real Madrid have gotten Mbappe, so they're, Real Madrid's out of the question, and it looks like Barcelona will be the next destination if they could figure out how to get their finances in order, which is why he's probably not going to go anywhere right now because they quite clearly cannot afford Haaland. We also got this update though. All right. Chris, I don't know. Somerville's impressive form this season has drawn strong interest from Manchester United and other clubs. A summer departure looks likely, regardless of whether West Ham United avoid relegation. And again, with these sorts of stories, this is sort of the first time he's sort of being mentioned. I don't know if it's like serious. These things, these one-off story types things, we got to see how they develop because a lot of the times they'll say Somerville, and in a month from now, we won't hear of Somerville ever again. And it was literally just one day on 1 week, one story. And and that's it. And there's no real, actual, genuine, strong interest. Obviously, not like how we have, like when you look at the midfield, we've had numerous targets for the midfield. They have been linked with us since the start of the season, and they've stayed and continued on. Sometimes you get a story like this though, and it's just like they mention him and then they're never mentioned with us again. Because we're not actually looking at them. It's just a story to run because Somerville will probably leave West Ham, but to make it a bit more interesting, just throw Manchester United's name in there so the story hits a little bit more. This time, let's be careful just who we sign. The Baleba saga seems to be going on and on. Wharton and Anderson won't sign for us. Well, I don't know. We'll see who we get. Many people feel that way about, they say Wharton won't sign for us or Anderson won't sign for us or we won't sign Tonali or whatever. But I think everything's on the table right now, and we'll see what happens. I don't see why they won't sign for us. I don't dismiss it in necessarily that there's just absolutely no chance. Like, it's like last season, like the end of last season, if we were in the situation that we were in at the end of last season going into this market, I'd tell you, yeah, because we're not in the Champions League. We just finished 15th, and we lost the Europa League final. But we're in third right now. We're going to be back in Champions League, so I think we have a better chance at signing these players. So I think we can get at least one of them. I mean, if you can't get Wharton, Anderson, or Tonali, one of three, I think we could at least get one of three. There is an update about Joao Gomes, Lucky, as well. But I would say Joao Gomes is not similar to Anderson. If De Zerbi loses his first two games at Spurs, then it's all over. The biggest story since the Prem was conceived. Natasha says, "Where's my glass of red wine? The problem is when I drink red wine, the next day I am so hungover." You're drinking too much red wine. You're drinking too much red wine. Yes, you could join me for a glass of red wine. It's Easter. I got my favorite. So this is my favorite wine. Yeah. So I got this bottle in a restaurant. Well, I didn't get this specific bottle, but I got this wine. I was in Malta and we went out to eat at a Italian place. And I always do my research on the wine. Okay, because I'm not a wine concierge. Okay, I don't know everything about wine, so I was just like, I want to get wine that's worth the money and tastes good. And I was recommended this. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. I can't even see the screen, so the light is too much. But it's called Roma DOC Red, and I like this wine a lot. It's made in Italy, made in Lazio specifically, and it's very good, very smooth, very nice taste. And I've been trying to find it here. It's not easy to find it here. And I found it here, but it was a pain in the ass to get. But I ultimately I found it here. And this was the first bottle I had since I had it in Malta in the summer. So Lucky says Anderson is a trash story. I understand the negativity around that. Many people are very upset with the Anderson thing. They don't believe we'll get him. They think it's all PR. I don't really get it, but if we really want Warren and Anderson, then the bosses should be open up their wallet and give them the most some air, lay down the terms, and hand the player the pen. Well, we'll see what they do. I agree, but I don't know. I don't necessarily agree listen, like we've spent some money, okay? Like I don't know. Some people are acting like we've spent next to nothing. We've spent some decent money on some decent players. Like, you know, the Cunha thing, the Mbuemo thing, even Sesko, for the amount of money we spent on him, like they are willing to spend money. I mean, they could have gone cheaper all across the board. They didn't have to get Cunha for that amount of money. They could have went and bought somebody for 40 million. They could have bought somebody else instead of Mbuemo for 35, 40 million. They don't necessarily do that. Now, they don't spend money in January. So, okay. And I don't know. I guess people are like, well, they're raising ticket prices and they're penny pinching all over the place. So they don't believe that they'll spend money. But I do think that if they truly believe that that player is worth that amount of money, they will pay for the player. And I think if they actually truly rate Elliot Anderson to the level that it seems like they say they do, then I could see them spending the money it takes to get an Elliot Anderson to the football club. We might then go a bit cheaper in some other areas, but if they got anything about them, at least one of the players for the midfield has to be, they're going to have to spend a chunk of money on him. Because Wilcox should be sitting there and saying, this is one of the most important positions in the team. This is a massive decision that's going to define us over the next 3+ seasons going forward in terms of our project and how we're going to look. We can't just be like, we can't just really half-ass it. We can't just be like, we only spend 60 million and we only pay players 150,000. So, you know, forget Elliot Anderson or forget Tonali, because even though they're way better than the players that we're going to go get now, we only pay 60 million. If we do such a thing, then we're no better than Spurs. And we'll end up like Spurs. Not necessarily maybe we're going to get relegated, but what I'm saying is Spurs are Spurs because they were always Spurs. They had Pochettino, okay, and they did very well, and Poch did very well to build them to a point where they were on the cusp of achieving the ultimate goal. They were in a Champions League final. They were just short of winning the Premier League. And any proper football club looks at that and goes, next season, we need a push, okay? And we've seen it under Fergie as well, where he made a team and it wasn't enough that season. And what does he do? Go get a catalyst. Go get that one guy that's going to push that team that was right there, that's going to push them over the line. And they didn't do it. Why? Because Spurs has a philosophy that they cap the wages and they cap the amount that they spend, which means you're only going to get a certain type of player. If we replicate that, then we're not going anywhere. So, but I'll give them, like I always give them, the benefit of the opportunity to not do such a thing. I leave it open. Show us something. Prove, these other people wrong, but also prove a little bit of my doubts wrong as well. Show us something real. Do something real. So we'll see. What would you have to eat with the red wine? Maybe some food from Malta. Pasta. Or like a nice steak or something, Red wine usually goes well with like meat. Meat, steak. Maybe even chicken. But I prefer a nice steak, Natasha. No point spending 100 million one player. Don't have any rich meat, such as duck or anything. You feel the effects for a couple of days. I've suffered with this, that. I'm not I don't. I'm not an expert in that. I have it with steak or something or some pasta. Maltese type thing, Italian. I want the Glazers say Ineos get Manchester United 5 players. The Glazers aren't telling anybody anything though. The Glazers are hanging out in Florida, driving Lamborghinis, looking at the stock price, and worrying about the funding for the new stadium. They ain't saying nothing to Ineos about signings. If they do say anything about signings, they're going to tell them don't spend crazy amounts of money. Probably. My drink I used to drink when I was young was peach snaps. I don't think I ever had peach snap. Tonali's got City or Liverpool written all over him. See, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not thinking like that because I'm like, let's go. I don't know. I feel like many United fans feel very defeated with these transfers already. And maybe I can understand why, because maybe they don't trust Ineos. But maybe I'm being naive. But I'm kind of just like, let's go head to head with all of them. We gotta go head to head with them. We gotta. Let's do it. Let's battle it out. Let's duke it out. Let's go. You want the player? We want the player. Let's go. And if you beat us to the player, we go to the next one. But we gotta be involved in it. We gotta fight for it for sure. We can't just like, I won't accept that the player isn't coming to us until, it's reported in that way. Right now, it's fairly open. Nothing's actually happened. And, we could beat out, listen, we beat some teams out for Lenny Yoro. And Real Madrid was involved. So if we could do that, why can't we end up with Anderson? Or why can't we end up with one of these other players that these other clubs are involved in? We could get one of them. Why are you wearing a necklace? Is it a Saint Christopher? It's Mother Mary. I always wear this. I wear this every day. It stays with me. She protects me. But the board won't because they have money for the new stadium. No. But that's not right now though. That's not right now though. That might come later down the line, but no, they're gonna spend money. We just can't spend over a certain amount of money because we still have to deal with debt and PSR. But the new stadium, the new stadium thing that won't affect us until after. Because first we have to get the funding. United, the club itself, cannot fund that. They need investment from outside. And then once we do secure the investment from outside, then if we're not in a good position, then we'll struggle to buy players because all the money that we make, we'll have to pay it back to the investors, so we won't be able to spend money, which is what happened to Tottenham. And which is what happened to Arsenal as well when they moved from Highbury. Was it Highbury? Their old stadium to the Emirates. It was the same thing. They couldn't afford to buy players because they had to pay all the money that they made. They had to pay it back to the investors. Right now, there's no investment made. The project is still being, no construction has happened. Nothing like that is happening yet. So, the Glazers will fork out a lot of money on Lego bricks for the stadium. And they're not paying a dime. What about some fresh bread and cheese and olives? That's always good too, yeah. Little charcuterie board. That's good. If we really want key players, then our wallet needs to be opened and give them all. I think I read that. Use our credit card and hand the player the pen when the terms are agreed. Well, no, I think we just need to pay. I think we just need to. I don't think it's personally the money thing. I think it's we need to sell them the project, and we need to actually be involved. Like we actually have to go for the player. We actually have to be serious about acquiring the player. I don't think the money is too much of a big deal. It might be too much for one player, but at some point they're going to have to acquire one of them. They can't they can't just go through the list and be like, oh, he's too expensive. You know what I mean? Like, to me, the whole thing doesn't make sense in terms of, listen, by now, they should know about how much he's going to cost. Okay? If they're not interested in paying the money, then what are they doing? You know? What are they doing? By now, in some form of way, they should know generally what it's going to cost. Generally. They should generally know it's going to cost anywhere from 70 million to 100 million, and the wages is going to be anywhere from 150,000 to 230,000. They should generally know that by now. It's April. We've only been, on these players almost a whole year. If they're not willing to pay the money, then what are we doing? What are they actually doing? Because they're wasting time and they're not even helping themselves. People will say it's for PR. It doesn't help them, in my opinion. That doesn't help them. Because all they're doing is they're bringing everybody's hopes up high for players like Elliot Anderson and Tonali, when they very well know they're not going to get that done. And then whatever's going to be offered up to us, everybody's going to see it as a step down or a lower grade, which nobody's going to be happy about, which is going to go against them, because people are going to be like, Ineos are shit because they promised us Anderson and we got our sixth choice. So I don't really see how that actually helps their cause in any way. In any way. So this is what I'm saying. Like, I think that they generally want these players. I think that they will pay money for them. I think the biggest issue is, can you convince the player to join us? Can you actually convince the player in our project and make them choose us over the other teams? I think that's the biggest issue we face. I'll be okay, don't worry. Natasha, do you like Greek food? Yeah, I like Greek food. I had a Greek friend. I've eaten some Greek food. It's pretty good. Although one time they made me eat something and I almost threw up because I forgot what it's called, but they have something that's it's literally bird. It's like bird's eye or something like that. And I didn't know what it was. And he told me to eat it. And it was not good. It was disgusting. And I was like, what is this? And he told me it's like an eye of a bird or something like that. And I was like, that's gross. Why would you make me eat that? And I felt sick to my stomach. But otherwise, the gyros or euros, whatever they want to call them, those are really good. Love those. The tzatziki sauce. Mike us do this, buy 5 players, sell Ugarte to 28 million. We send you Sandro Tonali to Manchester United, we will give position fight in the team around 240k. If you were the Man United manager, what players would you sign? And have United ever had any players from Malta? No, United won't have any players from Malta. Malta's way too small, way too small. I mean, we barely had professional players. We had one guy that played. I think in English football there was one guy that played the highest level was like the championship. I forgot what team he played for. Maybe it was like Birmingham or something. And it was he didn't last too long there. It was like a season or two. Um, I think the best player international wise. Oh, we had two. One, his name was MUFC. He used to be really good. I think he was the one that played in the championship. The other guy we had or have, there's one right now. I forgot his name, but he's in the French league. His name is Teddy Tuma. Teddy Tuma. He plays in I think he was playing on Lille. He might still be there. So he's probably the one that's done the best. As far as I know, he's done the best because he's actually made it to a top 5 league and he was playing and starting. And playing. I think he was on Lyon and now he's on Lille. So yeah. But no. But if I was the United manager, well, my plan is very different from the club's plan. And I would sign and I would look to sign Elliot Anderson and Tonali, and I'd get both of them in. I would sell Ugarte. I'd probably go and get maybe like a Mateus Fernandez from West Ham. That's our 3 center midfielders. Done and dusted. I'd sell Zirkzee. And I'd go in for a left winger. I don't know who I'd necessarily get from a left winger. I think the obvious one, all these people would say Jan Diomande, but he's going to cost you 100 million and he might not leave. And I don't think I could do a 100 million move when I just spent all that money on the midfield. So I would look to get in a winger and I would get a defender, maybe 2 defenders. Right back or left back, and maybe a center back. Simon said other things to do, so I will say good night. Have a good Easter, Monday, all. Great stream. Hope to catch you the next one soon. Yep, be good. Have a happy Easter. Stay safe. We'll catch you in the next one, brother. Saving money for a rainy day because they can't adapt league players wise. We're just too small. We're too small of a pool. We'll convince Joao Gomes, Stiller, Carlos Baleba, which won't be bad, did that. Well, listen, you know what? Could be all right. If we do that, I don't know if they're gonna go and get Stiller. Stiller's name sort of has disappeared from the conversation, and the thing is, they could do a Joao Gomez and a Baleba. I think, I don't know if they're gonna do 3, 2. They seem dead set on doing, Premier League experience. So I think that's why I pushed Stiller even further out because he's not Premier League experience. They want Premier League experience. They've been pushing for Premier League experience, and I know it's not good for me. I've been trying to quit, so I apologize. I've been trying to quit. It's hard. I've been doing a decently good job of it. I only do it once in a while, but what's your favorite food? Why are you wearing a necklace? I always wear the necklace. Sometimes I forget it because I go take a shower and I leave it off, but I always wear this necklace. This necklace is always on me. Um, my favorite food: pasta, pizza, pasta. I love pasta. I love pizza. Steak is good. I could always eat steak. I like steak and rice. But yes, I digress. Let's finish up some of this United stuff, and then we'll get out of here because I gotta go take care of some things. So Jim Ratcliffe aims to claw back £100 million from the sales of surplus Manchester United stars. Well, if we get £100 million, and we have £100 million or £150 million to spend, we have 250 million pounds to spend. Still going to be a bit short, isn't it? Well, not necessarily. I mean, if you sign Elliot Anderson for 80, 90, or 100, and you sign Baleba or Joao Gomes for 50 or 60, the 150 million for two players, you still have like another 100 to spend. I mean, today is the Sunday, I guess, because it is Sunday. But the Sun also saying Bruno Fernandes is set to recommend Mateus Fernandes to Manchester United as a midfield target this summer. I just find it funny. Like, do they really take that into account? You know, maybe they do because he's the captain. I'm sure, but I don't know how much of Bruno's opinion is going to sway the recruiting team in terms of Wilcox and Vivell and stuff like that. But I like Mateus Fernandes. I think he would be a good buy, and if we could get him for 35 million or 40, I think it's a really good buy. But 21-year-old with some talent. Hansi Flick on 30 million euros for Marcus Rashford. I'm very happy with Marcus. He has shown his quality and scored an important goal. I can't say anything about his future. We have to focus on the matches until the end of the season. Yeah, you can't say anything because Deco's trying to rip us off. That's why. It's because Deco is trying to rip us off. You can't say anything. Because they told you not to. Benjamin Sesko has talked about why he stays off social media, which I like very much, and I wish I could literally have every single one of our players not be involved in social media. But he said, especially nowadays, the media has exposed even more. If you don't know how to handle it, it's really difficult. So that's why I always said that I'm staying away from social media. Obviously, I do the posts. I still want to be there. Me, I'm not that person. I want to live a life, be a person and a footballer, exactly, and that is important. I know that last part of the quote is a bit weird, but I like this. I like this very much. I think social media is a major distraction for the players. I also think it's not a good thing for them to be involved in. And if I could control their access to social media, I would. You can't. And they could literally do whatever they want. But yes, I think having a player like that comes with that mentality, and then also sort of the discipline and the restraint to be able to not be part of this large machine of social media, okay, and just say, I just want to be a footballer and a person and live like sort of a regular life and not get distracted by these things, I think is very kind of tells you where his head at, kind of tells you what kind of, you know, professional he is, and he understands. I think it's massive distraction. I mean, we've seen players at this football club that their first thing is to run to social media and, you know, like a post or repost something to talk shit or throw shade or, you know, whatever it is. Or the first sign that they have a problem, they go to social media and it's like, it never really goes well for them, does it? And it makes things worse, and it makes things bigger problem. Um, Garnacho was one of these guys as well. Like, not only him and the things that he did, but he also had his younger brother, and that just made the whole situation worse. So I like this. I like this from Sesko. I like the players that have the discipline to be like, yeah, I know entire world of society is all about social media today, but I don't want any part of it. It's a distraction. It's not easy to navigate with. It can cause problems, and I'm going to stay away from it. Um, he's going to sell 10 players and bring in 4. The money he wants to claw back is for the stadium. Rashford's doing well at Barca. Also, the other players we have sold gone on to do well. I heard the other day they said about United bringing back Danny Welbeck. No way. What position do you think United will finish in the Premier League next season? I don't know. It's too early to say, Natasha. It's too early to say. We need to see how the summer transfer window goes, not only for us, but for everybody else as well. So, that's also another factor in terms of, listen, we could do a certain level of a transfer window, but then when you start looking around and comparing it to what the other teams are doing, well, ours might not be, it might seem okay, but when you start looking around, it might look worse. So we got to see how that sort of goes. He should be on holiday somewhere hot, sitting by the swimming pool, relaxing. I wish I was. Maybe soon. I mean, not yet, but maybe sometime in July. It's not time for that yet. Not time for that yet. Ray says, who is making the decisions about players if we don't have a permanent coach? The people in charge of our football club. Jason Wilcox. Our technical director, our director of football, the head of recruitment, and the CEO. That's who's making the decision. Right, because that's the way our club is operating, which is why when they were saying that they can't sign any players in January because they don't know who the manager is going to be, it's a load of shit, because they don't need the manager to make decisions on the on players, because they're going to do it anyway. That's what the position at Manchester United now is. You are not, the position is, you are not, it is not Sir Alex. It is not Sir Alex says, I want that player, go get me that player because he's perfect and I want him. It is the club saying, this is the list of players we have, and we are going to get this player specifically. No matter who the manager is at the club, we're getting this guy because he fits our club and he fits our project going forward. And you as a coach, you need to be able to make this guy work, or you need to fit this going forward as well. So I thought it was Jim Ratcliffe. No, Jim doesn't know anything about football though. So like, he's just the owner. He just he hires people to take care of this stuff for him, which is Jason Wilcox, his CEO Omar Barada, and then they have head of recruitment, which is Christopher Favell. These are the guys that will be. These are the guys that are. There's a reason why we're going after Elliot Anderson, and we were doing it under Ruben, and Ruben's not here, and we're still going after Elliot Anderson, and they don't, whether it's Carrick or another guy, they still want to go get Elliot Anderson. They still want to go get him. They still want to go get another player, whether it's Tonali or Joao Gomes. Like, they're still going to go get these guys, regardless of if it's Carrick or it's some other guy. They're going to get them. And in a certain way, they do need to do this. In a certain way, they do need to do this because many clubs operate this way. I mean, the same thing even goes for Pep. I mean, Pep does something similar. Pep leaves it to the guys to take care of. Now, he might, have a little bit more power, a little bit more say. And if he wants specifically one guy over the other, he'll obviously make his voice heard and maybe they'll, entrust him with that. He's earned that, right? But Pep isn't very heavily focused on the transfers. Pep likes to coach. He doesn't care really about transfers that much. The club does most of these things. The club, he entrusts the scouts and the system there to bring in the correct player that's going to fit into the team, and he will then coach them. And that's what United, that's what Ineos are trying to do. Which I think is fine, because many clubs do this, and it works very well for them. And we've done something sort of where it's like, we were buying players for commercial, or we were buying players specifically for one manager, and when we sack the manager and move on, the next guy can't use them or won't use them. So there has to be some sort of a middle ground there. But that's why when they were saying in January, like, oh, we're not going to sign anybody because we don't know who the manager is going to be, it's just like, well, that's just a load of shit. You just don't want to sign anybody because you don't want to spend money in January. It has nothing to do with you don't know who the manager is. You just don't want to buy anybody in January. Because there are players in our club currently that Ruben Amorim did not ask for, or that he preferred a different player over the player we got, and we didn't get the player that Ruben preferred. We got the player that they preferred, and then Ruben ultimately later on agreed to. So they've made decisions while a manager was here on certain players that they all liked that wasn't the manager's number one choice, and they went and got that player. So they will do the same with or without a manager, because there will be players that no matter what manager we have, they need to go and get this player for the squad. Yes, but surely the manager should have some say. The manager should have some say. They do have some say. And I think, I mean, listen, he did have some say. He got rid of Garnacho. He got rid of Rashford. They did listen to him. They didn't completely ignore him and everything. But, it kind of gets split somewhere along the way. I don't know exactly how they work it out because there's a few people involved. So how does that necessarily work? I mean, if you have the director of football, the CEO, and the head of recruitment, and maybe the scout, and they're all like, X player is the perfect player for this club. We've nailed it down to a T. And you got the manager saying, yeah, but I don't really want that guy. I want this guy. I think he's perfect. Well, but what do you do there? I would assume you go by what's best for the club. And you go by, I guess, committee, which is like you're outnumbered. And I don't know, I guess maybe Carrick, since he's going to be the manager, is technically, I guess he's his input is being put in as well. Because it seems like he's going to be the guy. I mean, we haven't even talked to anybody, as far as we know. They haven't even had any conversations with any managers. Now maybe they're waiting for the season to end to actually do it. Like, but I don't know. I find that weird to do such a thing. So, We have to make more playing time for the youths next season. Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll have more games, so we'll we'll see how they're looking. I think there's a couple that could have an opportunity to do so. I mean, we'll have the Carabao Cup and stuff like that, but listen, it's up to them. I don't know. You know, Carrick's there and he's watching the games. So if Carrick stays, you know, listen, I don't know. Like, I don't know how many managers and how many people you want to come through at this club, and they don't necessarily use the youth to the extent that some people believe we should use the youth. But to me, it's just keeps giving me an indication that they aren't good enough or they ain't ready. Because I don't know how many different people you can have come through this club and they're not willing to use them. So Carrick is there. He's a United guy. Okay. He's got his son there. He's got Fletcher's sons there. He's watching the youth teams. He's going to the under 18s matches. He's going to the under 21s matches. If he's actually here next season, if he doesn't use them a lot or as much as people would like them to, well, what are people going to do? Are we going to get mad at Carrick and say that he's being a coward and that he's not using the youth? Or are we just going to accept, the, in my opinion, the fact of that they just ain't ready and they're not good enough, and so they're not going to use them? Because I think that's where we're going to be. I think we'll see maybe a couple of them. I don't think we're going to see many of them. And maybe they'll get a couple opportunities here and there in a Carabao Cup, but we're not going to see them in the Champions League. We probably won't see them a lot in the Premier League. So I don't know how much they're actually going to be used. Unless, you know, we have injuries and we need to call them up because we don't really have an option to do so. But even right now, I made this point the other day, we don't have, we're actually lacking an attacker. And I would like to see Shea Lacey on the bench because we need an extra attacking option. And I think in terms of attacker youth player, he is the one that's at the stage to be the next one up. He is the best one in terms of he's hit the point where it's his time to be tested more. The other ones still need more progression. They're not there yet. We have 7 matches left in the season. We're playing 1 time a week. And we can use him, who is a winger. So it'll give me an indication because 1, at least put him on the bench. And 2, if he's on the bench, with 7 matches left, you would assume that we would have at least 1 match where maybe we're winning 2-3-0 or we're quite comfortable. We're home at Old Trafford, and you could put him on for 10 and 15 minutes. So we'll find out what that's really going to be about going forward. So, I need a holiday, relax in the sun. Don't we all? We all need a holiday. But listen, it's been a good show, but I do got to get out of here. Okay, we're not going to do a long one today. I don't believe we're going to stream tomorrow. You know, we might. If we do, it'll be at 8:15 p.m. UK. But I might take it off. And then Tuesday, I believe Tuesday and Wednesdays there's Champions League. So when there's Champions League, we don't stream. So let me just verify that. So Tuesday there's Champions League and Wednesday there's Champions League. So Tuesday and Wednesday we're definitely 100% not streaming. So we won't be live Tuesday and Wednesday. So we'll be back Thursday. So I might come on and do a show tomorrow. It just, it'll be a short one, quick one, hour and a half long stream. tomorrow at 8:15, and then we'll have Tuesday, Wednesday off, and we'll come back on Thursday. As far as I can tell right now, unless something in my schedule changes, but until then, we'll just continue as is. And then we'll do Thursday, we'll do Friday. We always do Friday. And yeah, we'll continue like that. So tomorrow I'll see you guys. I'll come on because I think 3 days is a lot. So tomorrow, 8:15 p.m. UK, if you're around, pop into the stream. Come chat with us, say hello. But I hope everybody has had a good Easter so far, or have a good Easter. Be good, stay safe. Thank you for all the support. Thank you to everybody that smashed the like button. Okay, greatly appreciate it. Good job there. I think we got 14 today. So thank you. And we were close to 3,310 subscribers. So if anybody new subscribed, thank you. I can't see until after we end the show. But yeah, other than that, everybody take care. Be good. Stay safe. We'll see each other tomorrow. And yeah, other than that, have a good rest of your Easter Sunday.